Okay, I got a lot to talk about, so quick rapid fire low, high active kindness. My low, it rained a lot yesterday. In fact, there was a huge thunder and lightning storm. 2, saw my folks high. Saw my mom and dad yesterday. Saw a great movie yesterday. And it was a great episode of Hot Ones yesterday. Active kindness, I ran errands for my grandma. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's talk about Hot Ones first. I told you it was rapid fire, and believe me, I came to play today. So, let's talk about John Stamos on Hot Ones. So, it was so... sorry, something's wrong with the computer screen. I mentioned earlier this week how funny it was that, you have both Barbie and Oppenheimer premiering in theaters this week. Both have huge lists of top tier actors in both movies. And this week's guest of all people was John Stamos. Folks, let me tell you something. Normally when you watch an interview, you basically just, it's one person asking the other person questions, and there's some good moments and here and there. And Hot Ones has always done that. This was the very first Hot Ones episode I think I've ever seen where it didn't really feel like an interview so much as it just was two really cool guys talking to each other. Oh, don't misunderstand me. There are some questions that Sean asked, and we're going to be getting into that in a minute. But for a good chunk of these wings, there really were no questions asked. It was quite literally just like two guys just shooting the shit. And I'm not going to lie, it was a lot of fun. I mean, and you know what? I did learn a lot from this episode. That's why I'm talking about it now. For starters, when it comes to fostering mentors, because, there are some people I look up to as mentors, coaches, older authoritative figures that obviously been through it all and obviously have advice that, of course, if they say something, naturally, I listen to them. You gotta find someone who will tell you the truth. In the case of John Stamos, that really was for Don Rickles. For those of you, Don Rickles was already a great actor in his own right, and a great comedian in his own right. Funny enough, I actually knew him as Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movies. Yes, he was Mr. Potato Head. And he was very good at being Mr. Potato Head. The reason, and you know what? I think we got a more, because here's the thing. I mentioned the other day how Full House really is a divisive show. There are some people who defend that to their dying breath. And there are other people who absolutely hate that show. And believe me, I see both sides of the argument. Frankly, for me, I didn't think the show really was, harmful to society. I didn't really think it was that bad. But I most certainly see where the arguments against the Full House are coming from. And John Stamos, I think, made the perfect reason why that show worked. Because, for one thing, he hated being on the show in the very beginning, but he wound up loving it. And, in Full House, there really was no central character. The love between that family, that was the central character. And it established a new normal in what was, at the time, an unconventional family. And Full House really was an unconventional family. You have a single dad with 3 girls, and his brother-in-law and his best friend move in. It's basically, 3 older guys looking over 3 little girls. and one of them is their biological father, and John Stamos, who was Jesse, is technically the uncle on the late mother's side, and that's true. That is an unconventional family. You don't really see that, and it wanted to establish that as long as a family consists of a group of people who love each other and will do anything for each other, there really is no wrong way to be a family. Now, keep in mind, I'm not defending Full House, not at all. I'm just saying that what Full House did, that's actually kind of important, though. And I don't think enough people recognize that. Again, I'm not defending Full House. I'm just saying, there were some good things about Full House that worked. Simple as that. And John Stamos brought that up perfectly. The unconventional family. Thus further proving that you don't need to be blood related to be family. Even though, technically, in John Stamos' character's case, he was technically blood related. Anyway. How he got accolades for performing on the stage in the revival of Bye Bye Birdie. And how, it's obviously different than working TV because, at any given time, if you're watching, a television or a movie or concerts, they start whenever they're supposed to start. But if you're on Broadway at 8 o'clock at night, when it is 8 o'clock at night, every single show on Broadway, they are going on the dot. And it just fills you up with such energy. He also really talked about this one story of how he worked with James Earl Jones once. And as he and James Earl Jones were leaving the theater, some of the people are like, hey, John Stamos too, have mercy. And then John Stamos was like, oh no. But then he also hears, he was like, hey, James Earl Jones, do Luke, I am your father. So it's relatable. He talked to Sean. Actually, here's where we get to some of the wings, but don't ask a question at all. John Stamos actually called Sean's dad, and Sean's dad talked about how he saw them play at Ravinia, I think is what it's called. He talked about how Bob Saget and Dave Coulier went to a strip club after Full House got renewed for a new season. His podcast about the kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr. None of those are really questions. Just John Stamos talking about those experiences. And I think the greatest interviews obviously great interviews always have questions, but they didn't feel like questions. This really was about this really felt like a new, refreshing take on what an interview was supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, Hot Ones is already doing that through the concept alone. But this is the first time I personally saw, okay, Hot Ones really is more than just an interview. It's more than just people eating spicy wings to the point where it feels like they're going to die. There's layers to this show. And it really does feel as if the more I watch Hot Ones, the more that the layers are being peeled back and I'm learning more. Not just about, the people eating the wings, but what goes on before, during, and after the show and everything in between. And I love that. He talked about a giant sign from Disney that counts as the holy grail of Disney memorabilia. How, actually, this wasn't even a question either. Sean Evans basically talked about his Mount Rushmore of, midnight entertainers. I don't think he actually said 4 names, but he did mention Letterman, Howard, and the guys from Loveline. Yeah, seriously, when they got to the bomb, all they did was talk about Fart Man. Which, speaking of the bomb, John Stamos killed this interview. He actually handled the bomb better than most people do. I don't think I'd put him in the same level as, say, a Jenna Ortega necessarily. or like a Halle Berry or a Michael Cera. But I would not, oh, actually, you know what? Scratch that. I think at some point Sean Evans is going to be like, whenever, seriously, someone's going to ask Sean Evans down the line, okay, who absolutely killed this interview? I would not be surprised if Sean Evans mentions John Stamos. I would not be surprised if John Stamos is mentioned in that group of great hot ones, yes, that just stared at the spice, no pun intended, like right dead in the eye and didn't flinch. Like Guy Fieri or Jenna Ortega or Michael Cera or Halle Berry or those people, you know what I mean? John Stamos is going to be mentioned. You watch. John Stamos also talked about how he watched footage of Bobby Knight so he knew how to throw a chair when prepping for the Disney Channel Plus show Big Shot. And he even talked about working with Jerry West. And then finally, we get to the last dab. And obviously there are some times where a question is asked. Sometimes they have to perform some sort of task with millions upon millions of Scoville units running through them. In this case, since, John Stamos, he is a drummer, plays with the Beach Boys, he taught Sean Evans how to do drumstick tricks. Something like the twirling of the drumsticks in the hands, and I believe the repetition is left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, 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 left, 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 right, left, right, 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 left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. And the more you get better at it, the better you get. Like, that is really cool. Honestly, I guess, I don't know. I actually did play drums because my mom made me do it in 4th grade. Obviously, listen, I have one instrument of choice and that's my vocals, but do not ever mock percussion. You know, you ever watch the movie Drumline? Oh, Nick Cannon would be a great hot one, yes. Maybe someday, but, although I should do a MoReas on Drumline, shouldn't I? Oh, wait a minute. Hot Ones, yesterday's episode of Hot Ones, it was really good. Now, let's talk about the main event. So, actually, let me get rid of my notes. Let me get rid of my Hot Ones notes. So, let's get this out of the way. I saw Oppenheimer yesterday. Now, going into this movie, I knew this movie was going to be 3 hours long. Knowing this, I went to the earliest possible showing, which, luckily for me, was at around 5 o'clock. And I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be some trailers, and we'll probably go like maybe 8:30, 8:45. There were no trailers before the movie started. None. I literally sit down on my seat, popcorn and drink in hand. 5 minutes later, the movie starts. And it just went from there. And right away, you know full well that you are in a Christopher Nolan movie. I mean, I should probably go get this out of the way right now. This movie was absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I'm naturally going to say, go see this movie. But obviously, you would want me to elaborate on that more, so here we are. Where do I even begin? How about the fact that, again, you're in a Christopher Nolan movie because there is symbolism everywhere in this movie. Like, sometimes you see things from the point of view of Oppenheimer played brilliantly by Cillian Murphy. I'm going to be getting to him in a minute. The symbolism in the time of year. This was World War II. If we do not make a bomb before the Germans do, we lose the war. And we lose the war, it's very possible that even something as insignificant as me making videos doesn't happen. I'm being serious. That or I'm basically doing it in German. Whatever have you. You know, and there's the fear, and you know, this is the 1940s, early 1950s. Communism's a thing. You know, the Red Scare, and, you know, we gotta keep our information safe, or, you know, there's people with extremely leftist views to the point of communism. It's insane. It is. But that was the time that we all lived in. And I tell you what, though, there's a couple moments in the movie that made me jump, and they all happen within like 5 minutes of each other. Because, you know, sometimes in movies where like the entire room is quiet because like there's a scene playing, or here's like it's not like, it kind of sounds like ringing in your ears. You know what I mean? And like the whole ringing sound is all you hear. And like you see the images and everything going on, the movie and everything, you know. They do that when they first drop the prototype. And that's the thing. The first 2 hours of this movie is them creating the prototype for the atom bomb. That's all it is. But I tell you what though, when that bomb finally drops, it's dropped with a quite literal bang. Because after the ringing sound, you just hear a toosh. It made me jump in my seat like, oh, whoa. And it happened like 3 times in a row in the span of like a minute. But I never saw him coming, so it worked. And the final third of this movie, of this 3-hour-long movie, is the ramifications of what they had created. And how, for all intents and purposes, Robert Oppenheimer does feel that he has blood on his hands. Because technically he does. I mean, there's a really great scene of him and with President Harry Truman, played by, who played Harry Truman in the movie? Hold on. I have the notes. This is a very long list of actors, by the way. Oh, never mind. This is a long set of, okay. Oh my God. That was Gary Oldman as Harry Truman? That was Gary Oldman as Harry Truman. And this cast, before I get into the rest of the movie, this cast is huge. I mean, I just mentioned Gary Oldman as Harry S. Truman, and for all intents and purposes, he's on screen for like 3 minutes. This is like a glorified cameo. But it's Gary Oldman's acting combined with Christopher Nolan's direction, which makes sense. They worked with each other on the Dark Knight films. Like, every single, like, small role you think you would see in the movie is performed brilliantly. Josh Peck. Yeah, Drake and Josh. Yeah, Josh Peck is in the movie. He's actually, I just saw his name earlier. He's Kenneth Bainbridge. In the movie, and I don't know if this is what happened when they actually did the prototype, you know, many, many years ago, but it's Josh Peck's character who actually presses the button when he's supposed to when they drop the prototype. And there is just performance after performance after performance. Like Kenneth Branagh as Niels Bohr. Casey Affleck as Boris Posh. Robert Downey Jr., who plays Louis Strauss, who between him and Matt Damon as Leslie Gloves, you've got your nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards next year. Oh, trust me when I tell you, this movie, we will be hearing about this movie again when we get to Oscar season. We get to award season. We're going to be hearing about this movie. You know, Emily Blunt as Kitty Oppenheimer, Robert Oppenheimer's wife. Florence Pugh. Okay, thanks to Hot Ones, I became a fan of Florence Pugh, and let's just say there are people who are in the younger generation behind me that are going to see this movie and are going to really fall in love with Florence Pugh. if you know what I mean. Let's just say there's some action in this movie, just not the kind of action you would expect. And let's get into the man himself. Cillian Murphy is Robert Oppenheimer, or J. Robert Oppenheimer. I am not going to lie. This is the greatest performance that I have seen on the big screen so far this year. I'm being dead serious. I mean, I'm literally looking at my notes here. I'm literally looking at a picture between him and the actual J. Robert Oppenheimer. It's a dead ringer. It is practically a dead ringer. So, kudos to the casting director. Actually, again, speaking of casting director, those names I just mentioned, there's a lot more. Rami Malek. Yeah, Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. He's David Hill. Let's see. Dylan Arnold is Frank Oppenheimer. Olivia Thirlby is Lily Horning. Let's see, who else? Guy Burnett is George Ellington. Tim DeKay is John Pastor. Gregory Jabra is Warren Magnuson. You know, this list goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, Benjamin Siddiq as, or Safdie as Edward Teller. Like, seriously, look up like literally any list of actors for the movie Oppenheimer. That list is going to go for miles. And it did. So, again, I could see either Matt Damon, any Team America World Police fans out there? Matt Damon. Okay, I'll stop with that. But, you know, Matt Damon or Robert Downey Jr. could totally see them getting nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Emily Blunt, Best Actress. Florence Pugh, Best Supporting Actress. Cillian Murphy, obviously, he is going to get nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. I'm almost positive that's going to happen. In fact, I'm 100% sure it's going to happen. Again, this was probably the best performance I've seen in a movie on the big screen, mind you. Since, and keep in mind, you have to remember, from like March of 2020 to just this past summer, I never saw any movies in the theater. So I'm sure there was probably some big screen performances I never saw. But since probably Taron Egerton as Elton John, I can't think of any performance that's better than this. Or that is of equal or greater value, I should say. And speaking of equal or greater value, let's get into what I heard about this movie. Because some folks are calling this the most important movie of the 21st century. Now, I want to make one thing clear. This movie is absolutely phenomenal. It needs to be seen. It talks about an important time in American history, in world history. And if we don't learn from history, we are going to be doomed to repeat it. And between the lessons and morals behind this movie, behind all of these great performances from a boatload of amazing actors, and again, this is a Christopher Nolan movie. You're going to be getting symbolism whether you want to or not. And it's going to be making you ask the important questions, whether you want to or not. This movie deserves to be seen on a big, giant silver screen. But the most important movie of the 21st century? I'm willing to compromise and say that it's only 2023. We've got a good 76 years before we can consider the 21st century officially over. That means there's 76 years worth of opportunity for a movie of this magnitude to be made, of equal or greater value. But I'll say that it's the most important movie of the 21st century so far. So far. Okay? I am absolutely positive we are going to be hearing about this movie come award season in a few months. And many years from now, when we get to the beginning of the 22nd century, this movie is going to be talked about again. In, with probably as much praise as it's getting now. So, yes, go see Oppenheimer. It is worth a 3-hour sit. And again, I'll give it the most important movie of the 21st century so far. The best movie I've seen so far this year? It's funny. I was with my folks last night after I saw the movie because I had dinner with them. We had Neilio's Pizza for dinner last night. It was really great. My mom asked me which movie I liked better. This or Mission Impossible. Look, both movies are highly entertaining for extremely different reasons. Actually, you know what? Watch both. If you can swing a double feature of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Oppenheimer, do that. Yeah, so there you go. Watch Oppenheimer. It is the kind of movie that needs to be seen on the big screen. And you know what? If you're able to, seriously, full disclosure, my folks are going on vacation next week at Cuckoo Lake. If we're able to catch a matinee screening of Oppenheimer, we're going to do it. I'll see it again with my folks. My father's a World War II guy, so he would totally love this movie. And, my mom will do anything if she thinks the movie's good. And, enough persuading, I can convince her the movie's good. So, there you go. I hope you like this video. If you like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on social media. As always, I'm very humble in this video for you guys watching your video. Hope you have a wonderful Friday. And remember, if you guys want to tag channels, you can hit the windows. Take care and make good choices. 607 all day, baby.